I want to talk a little bit about, because I was so surprised to learn, and I might be dating myself, that the program was not started on an inspirational template at all based on, say, the John Peel Show or BBC programming at all. So if that is the case, then is it a radio personality that was an inspiration to the show? Was it records you were listening to at the time?
No, it was simply the intense desire to do something different, creative, fun, where we didn't have to wait for elevators because it wasn't done during the daytime.
But what about the tone of the program and how?
The tone, I think, was just basically it came through because of the personalities involved in it. I mean, Alan Conter had a very strong sense of the music and the fact that it should be as cutting edge as possible. And I, of course, had much less of knowledge of the music at the time, made some horrendous faux pas in names, I must say, in the beginning. But I had a real sense of the space of the place, that it would be a place that people came to every night. They just tuned in, they walked in by turning on their radio, and it was a place where anything could happen. And bringing people in, because I love talking with people, just bring the people in and let us sit around and let's not be too serious. In fact, let's not be serious at all, and let's see what happens, like live. Mm-hmm. And that was, the show just took a shape because of that. If you'd seen our preliminary notes, if I can call them that, we were talking about, finding series from the archives and perhaps going to broadcasters around the world and running other series on the show. That just all dissolved after a week. It was like, okay, we found the format that we can afford, people coming in free, just for cheap wine, and technicians who are as crazy as everybody else, and a live studio where anything can happen. And that was essentially it.
Augusta mentioned space, and I think that was one of the things that she was very brilliant at being able to bring to the show, was that she defined the space that she was in so well that you could imagine it when you were sitting at home. So it wasn't simply a disembodied voice talking to you, a disembodied voice with a personality you got to know, but it was also a cast of characters, of technicians. We had 3 technicians that were our regular technicians in those days, of Alan Conter, who was producing the show and having conversations with Augusta, of which you could only generally hear one half, but still, all of the people that were there, and the space of the studio was alive, because, Augusta also would get up during a profile and pour herself a cup of coffee. So unorthodox things were done there that made the space as a three-dimensional space come alive in a way that radio spaces generally are not. So that was, I would go home and listen to the program. When I was working as a researcher there, I would go home and listen to it. And I know Sophia Hatzipetros, who's the day producer, would do so as well. So there was this spatial component to it, which is unusual.
Speaking of characters, Trissa McKeowe.
Teresa McKeowe? Now, where'd you hear about her, dear? We always wanted, Al and I, to do an art trouble report. We never did it, actually, I don't think.
What is art trouble?
Art trouble is, the real dirt behind the arts world, which, never got reported, because, of course, we were the only non-serious arts type show on the Stereo Network at the time.
So filling in for Michael Crabb tonight, we have Teresa McKeowe with us.
Oh, God, Teresa McKeowe from Balls Creek, dear. Oh, God, we got trouble at the Canada Council, let me tell you. We never did it. But Teresa was like one of those characters that was around.
Apparently she was encouraged, but certain of her agents wouldn't allow her to.
Yeah. We used to have a lot of fun with, as Brent said, with the characters of the show, and I think you continued to do so, Brent, afterwards. Mm-hmm. But it was important to do the stupid, silly things that people do when they're just hanging out with people they like, right. And to use this medium in a way that people could really relate to. And by God, relate they did. The mail we used to get ranged from, guards in Queen's Park in Toronto, guys on oil rigs in the Atlantic, postmistresses in BC, 13-year-olds listening under the covers late at night. We had such a range of people who would listen. You had a real sense that, people were coming. They were coming. It was a place.
Those people still show up in my life today. It's very, very peculiar, but when people recognize me on the street, they want to talk to me about Brave New Waves.
Yeah, I know. It's happened to me a lot, too.
I went to get my passport renewed a few months ago, and the guy who gave me the passport back, looked at me, and he just said, "I worked in a filling station for 6 months, and I knew exactly what he was going to say to me as soon as he said that. You know, I was on the all-night shift, and there it was. It was another waiver who's now in the employ of the federal government.
I
So.
know. There are a lot of them out there. I just wish there was one of them at Revenue Canada.
No, there were in the first couple of years some favorite personalities who would appear quite often. You know, multiple interview offenders, that sort of thing, multiple profile offenders, and for a while it was like verging on Laurie Anderson FM. Brave New Waves was.
I know. We were.
What
quite
is it
proud of
about
her.
her that so captured your imagination?
Well, because she was doing really intelligent performance art, but making it popular. And I mean, you know, Laurie Anderson was popular for a very specific period of time, and in a way, I guess you'd say she's very dated now. But the work she was doing was so both fun and intelligent that, yeah, she was a real hero. She was a real hero for quite a while.
we're going to
So was Billy Bragg.
Yeah.
So were a number of people, yeah.
we're going to go to a Laurie Anderson track, and then we're going to play a very charming collage in which, Augusta, you handed the show over to Brent in 1985. Okay? This is Laurie Anderson.